The Galactic Council's Dilemma. Humanity. A growing threat. Varen, an Arcturian representative, slammed his clawed fist on the crystalline conference table, cracking it slightly. If they reach space in force, it's over for all of us. Humanity must be classified a god-level threat. The Galactic Council erupted in hushed murmurs of alarm and disbelief. The gelatinous Borean ambassador scoffed. Preposterous. Look at them, primates barely a million years from banging rocks together. Varen's head tendrils pulsed crimson with rage. You fool. Their weapons tech is already near hegemony level, and their rate of development is like nothing we've ever seen. The chamber fell silent. Varen took a deep breath, forcing calm into his voice. My fellow counselors, if we do not act now, these humans will inherit the stars. And when they do, he paused, mandibles clicking grimly, there will not be a force in this universe that can stop them. A plan for first contact. The council buzzed with heated debate. Some called for immediate military intervention, while others advocated for a more diplomatic approach. Amidst the chaos, Theon, a respected Arcturian diplomat, raised his voice. Counselors, please, we cannot rush to judgment. These humans, while undeniably advanced, may not yet fully comprehend the implications of their actions. I propose we send a delegation to Earth to establish first contact and assess their potential threat level firsthand. Varen still seethed with barely contained rage. And what if they prove hostile, Theon? What if your diplomacy fails? Theon met Varen's gaze unflinchingly. Then we will have the information we need to act decisively. But we must give them a chance. After hours of deliberation, the council reluctantly agreed to Theon's plan. A small delegation led by Theon himself was dispatched to the Sol system. Entering the Sol system. As their ship dropped out of hyperspace on the outskirts of the system, alarms immediately began to blare. Sir, we're being targeted by multiple tracking systems, the navigator reported, panic creeping into his voice. Theon frowned. Impossible. They shouldn't have the technology to detect us at this range. He leaned forward, studying the readouts. The humans' early warning systems were far more advanced than the Council had anticipated. They had underestimated them. On Earth, the sudden appearance of an unknown spacecraft in the solar system sent shockwaves through the global community. World leaders convened an emergency meeting to discuss the unprecedented event. Humanity's response. Do we have any idea what we're dealing with here? The U.S. President asked, her brow furrowed with concern. The Secretary of Defense shook his head. Our experts are still analyzing the data, but one thing is clear. That ship is not of human origin. A tense silence filled the room as the implications sank in. Humanity had always suspected they might not be alone in the universe, but to have that suspicion confirmed in such a dramatic fashion was staggering. We need to establish contact, the Chinese president insisted. This could be the most significant moment in human history. Attempting communication. Back in orbit, Theon and his crew attempted to hail the humans on every frequency they could think of, but were met with only silence. They're not responding, the communications officer said, frustration evident in her voice. Theon tapped his claws on the armrest of his chair, deep in thought. Keep trying. They may not understand our language, or they could be afraid. We must be patient. As the delegation waited for a response, Theon couldn't shake the growing sense of unease in the pit of his stomach. He watched the view screen as human military satellites and vessels began to converge on their location, forming a defensive perimeter around the planet. The humans were mobilizing their forces, and Theon knew that any misstep could lead to a disastrous confrontation. He only hoped that the Council's worst fears about humanity would not be realized. Earth First's attack. Rising tensions. As the world held its breath, watching the skies for any sign of the alien visitors, a shadowy group was already plotting their next move. They called themselves Earth First, and their leader was a man named Damian Blackwood. He was charismatic, ruthless, and utterly convinced that the aliens were here to subjugate humanity. "We cannot trust them," Blackwood said, his voice low and intense as he addressed his inner circle. "They come here unannounced and expect us to welcome them with open arms. No, my friends, they have a plan, and that plan is to enslave us all." His followers nodded in agreement, their eyes gleaming with a fervor that bordered on madness. They had all heard the rumors, the whispers of advanced technology that the government was keeping hidden from the public, technology that had been reverse-engineered from salvaged alien artifacts. "The hack. We have the means to fight back," Blackwood continued, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "And we will use those means to send a message to these invaders. Earth is not theirs for the taking." In a secure bunker deep beneath the surface, Earth First's hackers worked tirelessly to penetrate the alien delegation's communication systems. It was a daunting task, but they were driven by a sense of purpose that bordered on obsession. Days turned into weeks, and the world watched as the alien ships continued to orbit the planet, silent and unmoving. The tension was palpable, and it seemed as though the slightest provocation could spark a conflict that would engulf the entire world. The discovery. And then it happened. The hackers broke through the alien encryption, and what they found confirmed their worst fears. The aliens spoke of Earth as though it were already theirs, discussing plans for colonization and resource extraction. They even mentioned the possibility of pacifying the human population if they proved to be too much of a nuisance. Blackwood's face was a mask of cold fury as he listened to the intercepted communications. "You see," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "they come here with talk of peace and cooperation, but their true intentions are clear. They mean to subjugate us, to strip us of our freedom and our dignity." He turned to his followers, his eyes blazing with righteous anger. "But we will not let that happen. We will fight, and we will win. For Earth and for all of humanity." The attack. The attack came without warning. One moment the alien ships were orbiting peacefully above the planet's surface. The next, they were engulfed in a barrage of missiles and energy weapons, their hulls buckling and rupturing under the onslaught. On the bridge of the lead ship, Theon could only watch in horror as his fellow delegates were vaporized before his eyes. Alarms blared and warning lights flashed, but it was already too late. The humans had caught them completely off guard, and they were paying the price for their complacency. "Evasive maneuvers," Theon shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "Get us out of here." The pilot, a young Arcturian named Zakos, did his best to comply, but the ship was already badly damaged. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, and the acrid smell of burning circuitry filled the air. Somehow, through sheer force of will and a healthy dose of luck, Zakos managed to guide the crippled vessel to the edge of the Sol system. Behind them, the wreckage of the once proud Federation fleet drifted in the void, a testament to human ruthlessness and ingenuity. Aftermath. Theon slumped in his chair, his head in his hands. He had come here hoping to forge a new era of peace and understanding between their two species. Instead, he had led his people into a trap, and now the blood of countless innocents was on his hands. As the ship limped away from Earth, Theon knew that the Council had been right all along. The humans were a threat, a danger to the entire galaxy, and now it was up to him to find a way to stop them before it was too late. The Galactic Council's response. The Council in turmoil. The Galactic Council chamber was in an uproar. The surviving members of the delegation to Earth had just finished their report, and the details of the unprovoked attack by the humans sent shockwaves through the assembly. Varen was on his feet in an instant, his claws digging into the podium as he addressed the Council. "You see, this is exactly what I warned you about. The humans are a menace, a threat to the very fabric of our society. They must be dealt with swiftly and decisively." There were murmurs of agreement from many of the counselors, but others looked uncertain. Theon, still shaken from his narrow escape, stood to speak. "I understand your anger, Varen," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "But we must not let our emotions cloud our judgment. The humans who attacked us were a fringe group, not representative of their entire species." Varen's argument. Varen rounded on Theon, his eyes blazing with fury. A fringe group. They had access to advanced weaponry, technology that should have been far beyond their capabilities, and they used it against us without hesitation. No, Theon, this is not the work of a few extremists. This is the true face of humanity, and we must respond accordingly. The debate raged on for hours, with each side presenting their arguments and counterarguments. In the end, however, Varen's position won out. The Council voted to assemble a massive fleet, the largest in the history of the Federation, to invade Earth and bring the humans to heel. A desperate plan. As the Council adjourned, Theon caught up with Varen in the corridor outside. "You're making a mistake," he said, his voice low and urgent. "An invasion will only lead to more bloodshed on both sides. The humans are not a race to be underestimated." Varen regarded Theon coldly. "You had your chance, diplomat. You failed. Now it's time for a more direct approach." Theon shook his head. "There's another way. Let me infiltrate their society, gather intelligence on their weaknesses. We can use that knowledge to launch a surprise attack, minimize our losses and theirs." Varen considered this for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. But you will have a limited window of opportunity. If you do not deliver results quickly, we will proceed with the invasion as planned." Infiltrating humanity. Theon bowed his head in acknowledgement, his mind already racing with the challenges that lay ahead. He would need to be careful, to blend in seamlessly with the humans and avoid detection at all costs. But if he succeeded, he could save countless lives on both sides of the conflict. As he made his way back to his quarters to begin preparations for his mission, Theon couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking a razor's edge. One misstep, one moment of carelessness, and everything could come crashing down around him. But he had to try. For the sake of the Federation, and for the future of both their species, he had to find a way to prevent the coming war, no matter the cost. Earth's response to invasion. Rallying humanity. As the Federation fleet approached Earth, Damian Blackwood rallied humanity under a single banner. Old rivalries and disputes were set aside in the face of annihilation. It was unite or die. "People of Earth," Blackwood's voice boomed from every screen and speaker on the planet. "The time has come to stand together against those who would see us subjugated. We did not start this fight, but by God, we will finish it." Millions took to the streets, their faces set with grim determination. Factories churned out weapons and ships day and night. Soldiers drilled tirelessly, honing their skills with the reverse-engineered alien tech. In the heart of it all stood Blackwood, orchestrating the defense like a conductor before a symphony of destruction. Theon's defection. At his side stood an unexpected ally. Theon. The Arcturian had seen the truth during his time among the humans. They were not the savages Varen painted them as, but a species fighting for their right to exist. And so he made the most difficult decision of his life. He betrayed his own kind to stand with Earth. "They will hit us hard and fast," Theon warned Blackwood as they pored over holographic battle plans. "The Federation's tactics rely on overwhelming force and shock value." Blackwood nodded, his eyes glinting with a predatory light. "Then we'll give them a shock they'll never forget." The battle plan. Together, they devised a plan as daring as it was desperate. Earth's fleet would lure the Federation into the asteroid belt, where a network of AI-controlled drones lay in wait. As the enemy took the bait, the drones would swarm them like angry hornets. Shields would fail, and hulls would rupture under the onslaught. The Federation's rigid formations would crumble into chaos. And that's when Earth's main fleet would strike. Led by Blackwood himself, they tore into the disarrayed Federation ships with a fury born of desperation. Theon, in a commandeered Federation fighter, danced through the battle with deadly grace. The Federation had never faced an enemy like this, one that could adapt on the fly, that refused to cower or surrender. And as more and more of their ships fell silent, a grim realization began to set in. They had underestimated the humans, and that mistake would cost them dearly. Victory and vigilance. In the end, it was the Federation that fled, their once mighty fleet reduced to a limping shadow of its former self. Earth had stood against the greatest power in the known universe and emerged victorious. But even as the people of Earth celebrated their triumph, Blackwood and Theon knew that the real fight was just beginning. The Federation would not forget this humiliation. They would be back with a vengeance, and Earth needed to be ready. Ready to take its place among the stars, not as a conquered vassal, but as a force to be reckoned with. Negotiating peace. A fragile truce. In the weeks that followed, Theon worked tirelessly to broker a peace treaty between Earth and the Federation. It was a delicate balancing act, one that required all of his diplomatic skills, but he was driven by a newfound purpose. He had seen firsthand the potential of the human race. Their courage, their inventiveness, their sheer stubborn refusal to give up. They deserved a chance to forge their own destiny. After countless hours of negotiations and compromises, the treaty was signed. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign power, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. It was a new beginning for both humanity and the galaxy as a whole. A historic moment. As Theon stood beside Blackwood, watching the ink dry on the historic document, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Pride in the humans who had defied all odds to stand tall among the stars, and pride in himself for having the courage to stand with them. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and setbacks, enemies both old and new. But one thing was certain. Earth would never again be underestimated, and the galaxy would never be the same. Theon's mission. With the treaty in place, Theon knew his mission was far from over. He had earned the trust of humanity, but now he had to ensure that the peace held. He began working with Earth's leaders to integrate their technology and defenses with those of the Federation. It was a monumental task, but Theon approached it with the same determination that had carried him through the darkest days of the conflict. Blackwood, for his part, continued to rally the people of Earth. "We have won a great victory," he said in a speech broadcast to the entire planet. "But we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and we have many enemies. But as long as we stand together, there is nothing we cannot overcome." Building a new future. Under Theon's guidance, Earth began to take its place among the stars. Human and Federation ships patrolled the space lanes together, maintaining the fragile peace. Trade routes were established, and scientific collaborations flourished. The humans' ingenuity and the Federation's advanced technology created a synergy that promised great things for the future. But there were still those who opposed the new alliance. Fringe groups on both sides plotted in the shadows, seeking to undermine the hard-won peace. Theon and Blackwood knew they had to be ever watchful, ready to counter any threat that arose. The real threat. Uncovering a new danger. One day, while reviewing security reports, Theon discovered something alarming. There were whispers of a new threat, one that had been lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. It was a remnant of the old Federation, a faction that had never accepted the peace treaty and was determined to see humanity destroyed. Theon brought the information to Blackwood, who immediately understood the gravity of the situation. "We can't let them undo everything we've worked for," he said, his voice grim. "We need to find them and stop them before they can act." A covert operation. Together, they launched a covert operation to track down the rogue faction. It was a dangerous mission, requiring all of Theon's diplomatic skills and Blackwood's military expertise. They followed a trail of clues across the galaxy, uncovering a web of conspiracies and hidden bases. Their journey took them to the fringes of known space, where they finally confronted the rogue faction's leader, a former Federation admiral named Cormac. He was a formidable opponent, driven by a deep-seated hatred of humanity. The final confrontation. The final confrontation took place on a desolate moon, far from any inhabited world. Blackwood and Theon led a small team of elite soldiers, their mission clear: capture Cormac and dismantle his organization. The battle was fierce and bloody, but in the end, they emerged victorious. Cormac was captured, and his plans were foiled. As they stood amidst the wreckage of the rogue base, Theon and Blackwood knew that they had averted a disaster. But they also knew that this was just one battle in a much larger war. The galaxy was full of dangers, and they would need to remain ever vigilant. A new era. The dawn of peace. With the rogue faction defeated, a new era of peace began to take shape. The alliance between Earth and the Federation grew stronger, and together they worked to build a better future. Theon became a trusted advisor to Earth's leaders, his experience and wisdom invaluable in navigating the complex politics of the galaxy. Blackwood continued to inspire and lead, his vision of a united humanity guiding their efforts. Celebrating unity. On the anniversary of the treaty signing, a grand celebration was held on Earth. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to commemorate the historic event. It was a moment of unity and hope, a testament to what could be achieved when different species worked together for a common goal. As Theon watched the festivities, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They had come so far, overcome so many obstacles, and now they stood on the brink of a new dawn. A message of hope. Blackwood took the stage, his voice ringing out over the assembled crowd. Today, we celebrate not just a treaty, but a vision of a galaxy where different species can live together in peace and harmony. We have faced many challenges, and there will be more to come. But as long as we stand together, there is nothing we cannot achieve. The crowd erupted in applause, their faces alight with hope and determination. Looking to the stars, as the celebration continued, Theon looked up at the night sky. The stars seemed to shine brighter than ever, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the limitless possibilities that lay ahead. He knew that there would be challenges, but he also knew that they had the strength and the will to overcome them. Together, they would build a future where all species could thrive, where the lessons of the past would guide them towards a better tomorrow. And so, with a heart full of hope and a mind set on the future, Theon joined the celebration, ready to face whatever lay ahead. For in the unity of Earth and the Federation, he saw the promise of a new era, a future where the galaxy could finally know peace.